Okay, so this is episode 2 and upside down world. And I want to talk about trust. When you think about trust and your family and your friends, you think, oh, they got my back. They got my back. They know what's right for me. Sometimes when we are in a crisis, we reach out to people that we trust to give us sound reason. And to be honest, I don't recommend it. I don't recommend it um, because they can't relate to what you're going through, you know? And the best advice that I can give when you're going through a crisis is to trust and respect yourself enough to get advice from people who understand what your crisis is when it comes to abortion or when it comes to understanding what uh, avenues you should pursue. So I can talk about two things here. So when you find out you're pregnant, you are in a crisis, especially if you weren't expecting it. And I know the first thing we want to do is we want to call a friend, or we want to tell the father, or we want to tell a family member because we're anxious and we're afraid and we're not sure what to do because we weren't expecting it. And I know that my suggestion to not tell anybody is hard. It's hard, no question. But the reason I tell you not to tell anybody is because of my own experience. Now, the father was not present in my life when I found out I was pregnant. So you might be in a different situation. The problem with telling anybody is you're giving away your power. So you're pregnant, you weren't expecting it, so you're not in the best situation. And then you go and you tell the information to somebody who is not ready to hear it either. Well, they're not going to answer you the way they need to answer you because they know you. So they're going to put their ideas on you, or they're going to put their own map of their world on you. And that's not fair. It's not helpful at all. The best thing to do is to do a little web search, call a nonprofit organization, make an appointment, go in, get an ultrasound, get your blood tested, or vice versa. Now, depending on how far along you are, you wouldn't be able to get an ultrasound, but you certainly could get a blood test. Now, why do I say go to a nonprofit? Because their interest is you in making the right decision. They are not allowed by law to give you their opinion. So they're going to give you as much information as they can so that you can make a decision based on backup, based on evidence, and giving you information on both sides of the coin, whether you want to keep the baby or you don't want to keep the baby, or you want to give the baby up for adoption, or you want shared adoption options. I mean, there's so many avenues you could go, but unless you go to this nonprofit where you're going to get all of the information, you will not find this out. If you go to Planned Parenthood, you will not find out all of your options, and you will not get the support you need because they have one agenda. Their agenda is abortion. That is how they make their money. And that's the truth. And they don't just make their money from the abortion itself, they make their money from what they do with the aborted child. Now, you may not want to call it a child, but this is your DNA and it will be with you for the rest of your life. And I've had an abortion. There's no judgment here. There's absolutely no judgment. If I were going to go back in time, the last people I would have gone to would be my friends and family because I was ill-advised. My friends all had abortions. Those were the only ones that came out of the woodwork. for women who had abortions. It's not weird. It's weird, but it's what happens if you're not surrounded by um, people of God or people who value God and people who value life. And family members aren't always the best people to get advice from. And you probably already know that because you've experienced getting advice from a family member before and it turned out to be a disaster, but we still do it. We still talk to our family about our problems and we get ill advised. And this one is a big one. This is going to change the trajectory of your life. So this is a really, really big deal. So when I talk about upside down world, the upside down world is the people that are the most committed to you in your life will most likely disappoint you. And this is not the time to be disappointed. Okay. This is not the time to be disappointed. You need to get the right information that's available to you. And it's your right to have this information. I know abortion is scary, and so is pregnancy. And believe me, they both will impact your life forever. Yeah, they will. So we hope that family and friends are going to support us, but they can't possibly know what's going on inside of us at the time. They're not equipped to know what's going on inside of you. They're equipped to know what's going on inside of them, right? And if there's any doubt, that is a sure sign that you're meant to keep that baby. You know, our bodies tell us, our souls talk to us. We are all children of God. And our life is important. And when I had my abortion, it was a devastating 25 years. Literally stole my life. It literally stole my life. I had no idea that that decision was going to impact every decision I made for the rest of my life up until now. And it creates havoc in your life. Your world really does come upside down. I mean, you might think that the abortion, you're fine with it, and life goes on, but your life path has changed. And you do know it in your soul and you're just not admitting it, or you have no clue because you have disconnected from it. I mean, I do know somebody who is really happy that they had an abortion. And there's no judgment here, but this person is a stripper. She is a beautiful girl. She's very smart. She has no self-esteem. And she chooses men who are younger than her, who don't live in the same city. Some of them don't even live in the same country. And that most likely has to do with fear of commitment. And there's all kinds of stuff attached to that. And that's what happens to us. We change. Abortion changes us. It makes us feel unworthy. It makes us feel less than. And I'm saying, like, there's help out there. Like, you don't have to carry those thoughts forever. In fact, I don't carry those thoughts anymore, but I did for a really long time because I thought I deserved it. And no one deserves it. And God does not want you suffering because you had an abortion at all. He loves you. He wants you to repent. Doesn't want you to do it again, but he loves you. But the enemy is going to tell you you're worthless. And the enemy is going to tell you that God doesn't love you. And that's an absolute lie. Absolute lie. You know, the 10 Commandments, you know, there's 10 commandments that he wants us to live by because we will have a better life if we do. And when we don't live by those commandments, it just opens a door to the upside down world. And we start attracting people into our lives that are not good for us. And I say that because when we're feeling less than, it just automatically happens because we don't think we're valuable anymore. We use goods, or we did a horrible thing. We have a hard time forgiving ourselves. But I just want you to know that those are all just lies that the enemy wants you to feel. And it took me a long time to figure out that those were just attacks from the enemy, and I didn't have to believe it, and that there was a way that I could get help. And there's so much help out there to free yourself from abortion um, trauma. And because the trauma is not just the abortion, it's what happens afterwards, and the longer you go without getting help and getting free from the lies that you start to believe about yourself, the longer it will take to free yourself of it. So I really suggest going and getting help right away. Even if you don't think you need it, just go and do the program, um and don't stop there. Like, every couple of years, go back, do another program, get free. Because sometimes we're not free, we don't get free right away, because it takes time to rewire your brain after PTSD. And when you take something from your body that's not meant to be yanked out of, it is PTSD and trauma. It just is. And no one wants to admit it. The government doesn't want to admit it. Planned Parenthood doesn't want to admit it. And your family members who forced you to get an abortion, or your husband or your boyfriend who forced you to get it, encouraged you to get an abortion, also doesn't want to admit it. And that's why it's really, really important that you get the help you need to help you make a educated decision from a nonprofit organization. And even if you choose to have an abortion, at least you know that you got all the information you needed. Because what happens, like me, I did not get the information I needed. I didn't even know that that was even an option. And just because, I was really naive, and I didn't think outside the box. Because of that, for years and years, I beat myself up for not getting all of the information. Because I think that that would have really helped me with my confidence in making the right decision. Because when you find out you're pregnant and you got like no resources, confidence is just zero. And often you make a decision that you wouldn't have made had the resources been there. And I don't want that to be you, because it's amazing what happens when you make a decision to keep your child. It's amazing when you make a decision, period, and you stick to it. Things and doors start to open for you that you weren't expecting. People start to show up for you that you weren't expecting. And most of the time it's strangers. So I just want to encourage you that you don't have to make this decision on your own, and you don't have to carry on your life in misery on your own. There's, like I said, a lot of nonprofit organizations who are there to help you be set free of the torment that you're under after your abortion. And that's all I have for you today. So have an awesome day. We'll talk to you in episode 3.